Government is seeking to spend an extra 6.3 billion cedis this year, in addition to the 78 billion cedis secured from Parliament in November last year in the 2019 budget. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has therefore been to Parliament to seek approval for the extra funds he says are needed to enhance security of the country's borders and also pay maturing obligations in the energy sector, among others.
As a result of these revisions to the 2019 fiscal framework, the 2019 appropriation of 78,771,833,602.12 cedis that was approved by this August House in November 2018 will not be adequate to cater for the additional program needs, which would increase the total appropriation to 85,142,189,527.4 cedis. Government is therefore requesting honorable members to consider and approve an amount of 6,370,355,925.82 million cedis as supplementary estimates to the original appropriation of 78,771,833,602.12 million to bring the revised total appropriation for the 2019 fiscal year to 85.1 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, consistent with Article 179(8) of the Constitution, the request for a supplementary estimate is necessitated by additional precautionary expenditures in response to regional security developments and the amortization of contingent liabilities associated with take-or-pay contracts in the energy sector which have crystallized.
The extra amounts being requested by the Finance Minister will be drawn primarily from an increase in taxes on fuel, including LPG. This will be by courtesy of an increase in the energy sector levy.
You may recall that government in 2017 issued the Energy Sector Levy Act, EXLA bond, which has to date raised almost 6 billion Ghana cedis on the back of EXLA levies to pay for legacy debts from the NDC's Dumsor days. The bond produced were used to liquidate approximately 60% of the energy sector legacy debts.
The communication service tax is also going up to 9% from 6%. It essentially means you'd have to pay more for your calls and internet.
Communication service tax. The communication service tax was introduced in 2008 at an ad valorem rate of 6%. The tax is levied on charges payable by consumers for the use of communication services. Government proposes to increase the tax. Government proposes to increase the tax to 9% to develop the foundation for the creation of a viable technology ecosystem in the country from 6%. This will comprise, among others, putting in systems to identify and combat cybercrime, protect users of information technology, and combat money laundering and other financial crimes. The increase will not be earmarked, however. The sharing ratio will be adjusted in such a manner that the National Youth Employment Program continue to receive the same proportion as they are currently receiving.
Ms. Ofori-Atta, in the presentation of the media budget review on Monday, explained government, as a result of contracts signed with independent power producers by previous governments, is having to pay billions for electricity the country does not need.
Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the significant progress we have made so far, the serious challenges we are facing in the energy sector pose grave financial risk to the whole economy. At the heart of these challenges are the obnoxious take-or-pay contracts signed by the NDC, which obligate us to pay for capacity we do not need. Currently, according to the Energy Commission, our installed capacity of over 5,000 megawatts is almost double our peak demand of around 2,700 megawatts. Notably, 2,300 megawatts of the installed capacity has been contracted on a take-or-pay basis. This means that we are contractually, Mr. Speaker, obliged to throw away money for this excess capacity which we do not consume. This has resulted in us paying over $500 million of over 2.5 billion annually for power generation capacity that we do not need. Similarly, for gas, Ghana has contracted for around 750 million scf per day by 2023. This is even after this government terminated 2 other LNG contracts in 2017. Current demand is around 250 million scf per day, and this is projected to rise to between 450 and 550 million scf per day by 2023. About 640 million scf of the contracted gas supply is on a take-or-pay basis, Mr. Speaker, meaning we have to pay whether we use it or not. From 2020, if nothing is done, we'll be facing annual excess capacity charges of between $550 million and $850 million every year. Thankfully, Mr. Speaker, we have a plan to deal with this. Mr. Speaker, we cannot allow this situation to continue. There is no doubt that the situation in the energy sector is shocking the economy. We are in a state of emergency and must therefore respond with urgency and boldness. We shall, from August 1st, 2019, Mr. Speaker, with the support of Parliament, make take-or-pay contracts a beast of the past.
All right, so the finance minister also announced the withdrawal of the luxury vehicles levy, and we'll be getting a reaction to that when later on Sandra Afeni joins me, which will bring us business news. But joining me in the studio now to break it down a lot further is Philip Namfuri, an analyst with Joy Business. Thank you very much, Philip. Well. So what are the key points that anybody should take away from today's mid-year budget review, especially knowing that there are lots of people who really wouldn't be interested in the budget?
Okay, thank you very much. So first and foremost, the finance minister wants to spend money. He needs to raise that money, but given how the economy has been structured, given some loopholes in the economy, he needs to raise more than necessary than what he's getting now. Right. So today he came to give us an update of the economy in general, where we are now. He spoke about the banking sector, etc. Then he went heavy on the energy sector in the sense that now there's a tax in there where they are going to be raising some revenue from petroleum products, particularly on petrol and on diesel. So in simple terms...
And LPG.
And LPG, thank you very much. So in simple terms, get ready to pay more on the consumption side. Because if you don't drive, you patronize public transport in one way or the other.
Or Uber.
Very good.
Or Yango.
Very
or
good.
Any of those.
Or Bolt or Taxify, whatever. So you'll be paying more from that end. So that's one. He wants to make money from that side because everybody uses transport in one way or the other. Yeah. And then vehicular transport for that matter. Two, he says communication service tax going up from 6% to 9%. Let's forget about the numbers. He wants more money from that area. Everybody uses one device or the other. We are always on our phones, buying data, we are bundling, we are making calls. He wants to look in there and make money. Second one. Third one, he says, the luxury vehicle tax we implemented doesn't seem to be giving us the necessary revenue, so we are going to withdraw it. And I choose the word carefully. I'm using his word here, withdraw. Maybe they'll go and review it and bring us something, or it will be totally taken out of the system and there will be nothing else. So now, anybody who has a 2.930 and above, in the days coming,
you're spared for now.
Rest assured. But if you have already paid, then close your eyes and then swallow it because it's happened already. Then again, Finance Minister says he came to Parliament saying he wants to spend 74 billion in the year 2019. Now he says no, I want to spend 6 billion extra, taking it up to 85 billion Ghana cedis there.
Okay, so 70, he requested 78 billion initially.
Yes.
Now he wants 6 billion extra, which will take it to the 85.
Okay, so now that's that. So the parliamentarians will look at all this, debate on it, and then give him the necessary approvals. So he's done his mid-year review, told us how things have gone. He's given us some new tax measures. Then he's also come to say, you know what, I want extra money. That's where the supplementary comes inside. So he's come with the supplementary estimates. He wants 6 billion extra. And that's essentially an overview of what has transpired today.
Okay, so that's what we know from the budget, but we've also been speaking with some people, gathering their reactions to all of that.
Very good. So I spoke to a mix of students and workers, young people particularly. And you know, more often than not, we speak to the politicians, we speak to the economics, the analysts, etc. Today, let's go and talk to the man on the ground. Let's listen to what they have to say.
Okay,
so
let's do that.
Let's take a look.
Year period, and it's important that as we get along somewhere with the process, you have to review the process. And so a mid-year budget review, just a review of a process which has not ended. It's a mid-year, so it's mid. And so my understanding is that within the process, we are reviewing what we have achieved, what has been achieved so far with the mid-year, for a mid-year review.
So essentially, when the finance minister presents his budget in the previous year, so he presented this year's budget in November 2018, and what he's supposed to do is essentially come and give us an update of how things have gone from the last time he presented the budget in November. You know, when he presented the budget, we've done about 11 months of the year. What happened in November, what happened in December? He needs to tell us this year. And what happened from January to June of this year, 2019. And all this is contained in what the finance minister, or what we call the Public Financial Management Act, 2016, Act 921. A lot of things transpire in these media reviews. We have our parliamentarians making noise in inverted commas. Everybody's excited, everybody wants to hear what the finance minister has said. Can anybody tell me what was their highlights from this mid-year review? That's if you pay close attention. Can anybody tell us what their highlight was? Anyone? Okay, so if you can pass the mic to the gentleman in white. Yeah.
Okay, I think basically what they spoke about was going to be the increment in some taxes in the country, like communication tax and luxury tax. For the last one, going to be the energy tax.
When we say a luxury vehicle, what comes to mind?
Luxury vehicles, I know, will be vehicles that consumes more fuel compared to other vehicles. So, and that's an addition to what he said.
So they consume a lot of fuel, and in terms of, they have this new technology phase.
Very good. I like that, new technology.
Okay, I know a luxury car to be a very expensive car, and a car that has more comfort and then elegance, unlike the regular cars.
Okay, features, consumption, technology, elegance.
Luxury cars have higher equipment. Yeah, they are mostly used by the rich men.
I like that.
I think the energy minister, the finance minister, is targeting to get something from the rich men.
I look at the four-wheel drives that have larger engine capacities. Yes.
Okay. Deputy Finance Minister.
I think he basically has said it's cars that engine capacity. We're looking at engine capacity, we're looking at elegance, we're looking at all these features.
Okay.
Like to me, my colleagues have said it's all.
Okay, so.
Electric cars are cars that consume more petrol.
Okay. So essentially, you are all right, but there was an issue with that definition of luxury. You may have a car that may have a bigger engine capacity, but may not necessarily be a luxury vehicle. Now, I want to ask each of you what you make of this, the finance minister going to ask Parliament's approval to spend more money and generally having very low revenue now, all things being equal. When you think about that, what do you think about?
We need to ask ourselves what he has already been given. Has he achieved anything that gives us the reason or the enthusiasm to move on to give him more?
Asking for more money, like my brother says, means that you have exhausted what you already had. But we also need to know what we had initially was useful. So the Parliament may go forward and then let us just accept this request whatsoever. But we, those under the lower funds, we also want to know what the money is also being used for.
It's good we do this mid-year review of the budget. But then as to how, they are supposed to explain this in details for us to understand.
One thing we should know is that we have to make more than we spend. And then if we are spending more, we should consider the future. What if next year by this time, this supplementary budget increase to maybe 12%? What about that?
We've heard the mixed views from across the table, from students and from workers, and particularly a very interesting one.
All right, so interesting conversations with the people. What did you take out of that? Are these people actually appreciate? Do you think people appreciate the budget presentations?
Yeah, Ezra, I think so. I mean, when you break it down for them, they understand. And one of the ladies said she would want the finance ministry to come to the ordinary man and woman with a more simplified version. You know, they have the citizens' version of the budgets, but I think some engagement with people, schools and all over the place, they can do more. And one thing that was said was very important. If they come to us asking for more money through taxes, the young people don't mind. All they want to see is the money being used for the right things, and they're willing to pay anything to the government. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Philip Namfuri. He's an analyst at Joy Business. Now, how will these new taxes affect consumers? What will be the impact on those that have been scrapped? We have been speaking, asking some of you. Let's start in Kumasi, where artisans and spare parts dealers, as well as magazine, have reviewed their stance on demands for measures to end the retail trade on pars between Ghanaians and foreigners.
It was a killer budget, very voluminous, but the content was empty. Yeah.
What do you mean by empty content? What are the things that you expect and that didn't reflect in the budget today?
The reality on the ground was not specified in the budget. For instance, when D1F, he said that 57 was operational with 7,000 people being employed. But I'm in Ashanti region here. I've never seen any one factory which has been operational since this government took over. For instance, I've just changed $1. This is reality. Yeah. This is reality. The dollar today is 5 cedi 42 pesos with respect to $1, which is very, very, very unacceptable.
Without fuel. Say no one say too much aircore. That's why my man say that kakra. But so far, Baba Transa, Unya Jumabia, so on an organization or be factories.
So according to this gentleman, there have been increases in fuel prices, which he is not happy about, because he, as a mechanic here at the Swan magazine, he uses fuel for his work, and therefore, at the moment, things are not going very well. So an increase in fuel prices will just add up to their woes here at Swan magazine.
One zero what you hear quite and the castle or more air quite or my opium and they say me buy Menyashi attire no man no more. So attire no manual mano Kuta but other quiet is here. We can cover for swabber. So yet to talk. She knew. So, according
to him, their work is not moving on as they expected. Their roads are very bad, and due to that, nobody wants to bring his vehicle in here for servicing. They only come here and they cook local tea, they call attire, then drink, then that's all. And also, 6 billion, enka scanner, wabajin that no.
Catcher go much Nyangware,
why? Because it's kind of agenda that also ends soon. It's never been come home. Afcon budget, you can get to some give him to support Ghana. Before coming on, said this man was very vociferous, expressing his feelings about the budget. But now he's short of words. He's unhappy about the situation. He believes adding up 6 billion to the budget, the budget what the finance minister took early in the year, it's unacceptable, because they've not, so far Ghanaians have not seen what he has been doing with the money that they took at the beginning of the year.
because it's 3 years at Chomo.
He's complaining about one term that the politicians have been using, that things are in the pipeline. He believes the pipeline, if the things are in the pipeline, it's about time that these things all come out. So he wants the president to facilitate things for him, and he believes adding up to the budget or increasing the budget, it's something that Ghanaians should not accept. So there are lots of sentiments here, and from what I'm listening to, they're unhappy with the budget, and they think that government hasn't done enough to alleviate poverty in the country. All of them are saying that they voted Nana Akufo-Addo and they supported him very well, and they thought that he could bring some changes in the country. But so far, they are not feeling the impact of Nana Akufo-Addo's presidency. So from Magazine, for Joy News, Nana Aljima reporting.
Right, so there was Nana Aljima there speaking with some residents of Kumasi. Let's come to Accra and see and listen to the views of those here too.
Compared to previous governments, when I think the taxes were a bit low, import duties and all that, when it's a bit low, I think the economy will also grow because people will buy more because the things are a bit low. Business is slow, it's not booming as before. So I think the government should do something about it.
For government to decide that it's going to reduce or take away the tax on luxury cars is well accepted. However, with the spare parts, we wish that there will be a reduction too as well. Because currently this is my car and I'm fixing some things. The cost is very, very, very high.
So far as the government couldn't decrease our own in terms of the port issue, now is good. But he's also using part of our money to subsequent either issues on, the schooling process. So it's good. We will still be trading, even if inflation comes or if deflation comes, we will still be trading. The government is forcing for the community and as whole as Ghana.
And without removing all the taxes, the ground is not well. The ground is zero. Everything is zero. Things is not moving. That is not moving at all.
If you say the ground is not well, what do you mean by that?
Which means things are not moving. Markets is not selling. People are not buying nothing.
Right, so those were some views from Accra. And we have a bit more coming up on as far as the budget is concerned. Let's look at some of the highlights of the budget as presented in graphical representation. And then later on in business, Sandra Fenn will come in and share with you a bit more, some reactions on the withdrawal of the luxury tax. So these are some of the highlights. So in agriculture, Cocoa Board has repaid $1.3 billion syndicated loan. Current world cocoa price still remains low. Government maintains farm gate price at $7,600 per ton. Cocoa Board to raise additional $600 million with AFDB. Cocoa industry directly supports about 800,000 farmers, and work on remaining fish landing sites has commenced. And on education, free SHS enrollment sees 19.5% increase in 2018-2019. Government is ready to take on board the third cohort of the free SHS. We will continue to tackle free SHS challenges with boldness. That's the finance minister in his presentation of the mid-year budget review. On infrastructure, government is aggressively pursuing an industrialization agenda. Second phase of Sino-Hydro project at planning stage. Ministry of Defense to construct a forward operating base in Takrady, and rehabilitation of Kojokrom-Takwa railway line progressing. It's been 3 months since a number of radio stations in the country, including Radio Gold and Radio XYZ, were shut down by the National Communications Authority (NTA) for various reasons, including non-compliance with regulations. A number of interventions have been employed, though unsuccessful, to reverse the NCA's decision. Former VRA boss Dr. Charles Rekuprove has told Joy News that he's personally written to the president to intervene. As the stations await the decision of a tribunal, Joy News' Emefa Apau has been interacting with some workers of the two stations as part of our Defend Media Freedom campaign.
Can't say and I'm saying then let me go back to Radio Go, the monitor proceedings there to be by.
In the afternoon of May 9, 2019, officials of the National Communications Authority (NCA) stormed the premises of the stations with armed security personnel while they were on air and ordered their immediate closure. They were then handed letters detailing the reasoning behind the order while asking them to reapply for license if they still wished to operate as frequency modulation FM radio stations. Some observers who witnessed the shutdown condemned the action.
I'm a citizen of Ghana, not a spectator. I have every right to say what I think. What the hell do you mean? When have they come to close our station? Only 2 stations where we have 100 stations there. You cannot.
Some senior media practitioners agree, with some even describing it as high-handed.
Why close Radio Gold? Radio Gold and the others. XYZ. XYZ. Why would... But it was established that they were in clear violation of specific, what they call it, NCA rules. That is why I'm saying that a government should err more on the side of media protection than punishing the media.
To be honest with you, press freedom, we've never had the press freedom. People can speak their mind relatively freely until the recent developments. Now, those two things have confused the whole thing and said, there is media freedom or press freedom. There is not. It reminds me of a Dubois and his culture of silence.
By the station to get the NCA to renew its license has been a mission impossible.
Today, the campaign to defend media freedom in Ghana takes us to the premises of 2 of the affected radio stations, XYZ and Radio Gold. We're here to assess the impact of this closure, which is 3 months down the line. What have they been doing since the closure? How has it affected them? Here, several workers have been left redundant, and I'm here to interact with management and staff who continue to hang on. Benny is the Chief Operations Officer of XYZ, and he remains hopeful.
Truth be told, it hasn't been easy. We've had to more or less lay people off because you can't work with people who really don't have anything doing. We are still pursuing, and we are believing that something good will come out of this. Yes, but indeed it's not a good situation for anybody. It's good to be hopeful, and so that's what we have instilled in our colleagues and staff. We are still in talks with, luckily we had the Parliamentary Select Committee on Communications come in, and they are trying to more or less mediate between some of the affected stations and NCA. We just received a letter recently and for a next meetup, and we are hoping that something good will come out of it.
The impact on the staff is telling. Many of them have been laid off, leaving the few lucky multilingual ones who were playing other roles on their sister station.
Now, if you ask me, what do I really do on a daily basis? I no longer get the opportunity to speak to my numerous audience who once listened to Etesane, that's the name of the morning show on Radio XYZ. But rather, what I am doing now is we've had to consolidate most of our programs, especially the morning show. So the morning show host of Radio XYZ has had to join the morning show host of Power FM, and Power FM is our sister station, so we co-host. The shutdown, it's been really taking a toll on a number of us, especially my colleagues. Some of them have had to lose their jobs, unfortunately.
They tell stories about the impact of the closure on their colleagues.
They are just there, going back to the same old situation of you depending on your parents every day to get you something to survive, and that's how tough it's been for them. They are just hanging in there, but we are just hoping that whatever process that we have started, we can gracefully end it well, because I am somewhere cocksure that we are way around 80% through with whatever that we need to do to get our station back on air.
So we have the rare opportunity of visiting the XYZ studio, the once vibrant studio where they all did their programming from. But as it stands now, it looks like the studio is still shut as we speak, and as the signage says, please always keep studio doors shut. And we tried opening, and for the last 3 months, it remains shut.
Live on RadioGo905.com.
The situation at Radio Gold is no different. Here, management has had to resort to online broadcasting, which they tell me is very expensive. Richard Osei-Japong is the programs manager at Radio Gold. He says it has been tough.
Well, for the online, those who can listen and afford the data, actually, there are some people who sacrifice to listen.
That's expensive.
It is, because we also have to keep data to run it, as well as those who are listening must also keep data to listen. So both ways is quite expensive. And you know that because corporate Ghana is not so much into social media and broadcasting, it's quite difficult to rake in revenue from that angle. We've had some discussion, but they are dragging their feet because they are not too sure the impact will be like, since a good number of stations are also still in the traditional media. What is the use if they should give it to you and they are not sure how they would want to monitor?
He tells me about how advertisers are no longer honoring the obligations due to the shutdown. Several letters to the NCA, he says, have been totally ignored.
It's very tough. Because we are broadcasting online, we need to at least have electricity power. We need to keep a small group of staff who would ensure that we are on. At least security must also protect the house. And we do that without revenue. The problem is that we are not advertising as it should be. We are not getting the money. People have started terminating their contracts with us. Yeah, they are saying that, well, if it's not going to come back, I mean, they are not sure when it's coming back. They cannot still maintain that kind of agreement with us. Worst of all is that others too are taking their businesses elsewhere. So it's quite tough.
Well, but it's almost 3 months since the radio station was shut down. I'm sure you are in talks with the NCA, the Communications Ministry. There's been a back and forth on this particular issue. Where are we in terms of this matter?
Well, the issue was if you want to operate, put in fresh application. And we did that. We have done that. We submitted our documentation to the NCA. But well over, I think it's about 4 weeks now, we've not received any form of communication from them.
Staff have not been paid for the 3 months the station has remained shut.
Majority of programs, for example, I work with the newsroom. We haven't run news for a long while. So it means that everybody in the newsroom has been forced to go home. Occasionally people come in and visit, but you can't be paid for not working. And that's the immediate impact, the fact that you, in the interim, do not have a job that pays you an income.
It's been a tough period for them.
It's a difficult situation, knowing that what I'm cut for is news. And now I've been pushed to do something else. You wake up in the morning and it's not like you don't have the urge to even move out of bed and come to work because it's so different. The situation is very difficult and different.
So for 3 months now, most of them have not been paid?
It's not most of them, all of us. And you can't even say that. You can't even demand management to pay you because there's no business coming in.
Sometimes there are people who, out of concern, are able to reach out. And so that has been quite helpful. But majority of the time, you are depending on perhaps some of the small monies that you have put aside. And you are surviving on it and the goodwill of a lot of people. And basically, that's how we've coped. And we don't know how long we are going to be in this situation for now.
The stories of the staff of the affected radio stations XYZ and Radio Gold highlights the real challenges of a restricted media space